Hi, I'm Mike Fidel, a managing director and community leader at InsurTech Ohio. I am very excited to welcome Mark Brading from Strategy Meets Action to talk today about some of the ongoing innovation in commercial lines distribution. Mark, thank you so much for joining me today.
Sure thing. Happy to be here.
Mark, I'm curious about your kind of general background and passion about this particular space. So let me open it up by allowing you to kind of introduce yourself as well as some of your experience around commercial lines distribution.
Sure. Well, I've been involved in insurance and technology for my whole career, and I've had the great privilege of advising and consulting with insurers and tech companies around the world, all kinds of projects, all kinds of strategies over time. And I consider myself to be a business strategist, a futurist, and I've always been looking at how technology is transforming the world and what that really means for the insurance industry. I am passionate about helping the industry, and I've been deeply involved in the whole InsurTech movement since the beginning, really, because I see InsurTechs as being catalysts for innovation, catalysts for change, lots of exciting, implementations of new technologies and new business models and new products. So I think the InsurTech movement itself is a big part of the transformation that's underway in the industry.
We obviously at InsurTech Ohio could not agree more. Let's start by talking about, as an industry, commercial lines distribution has seen a lot of momentum, and it's certainly ripe for more and more evolution as an industry at the highest level. Where do you see some of the really exciting changes occurring around commercial lines distribution?
Yeah, I mean, I see a real revolution underway in P&C insurance distribution overall, and especially in commercial lines, right? One of the things I published a research report just a few months ago on a lot of the new models that are being tried. And I think that there's at least 8 different business models for distribution, and they're all very active, right? And a lot of the strategy work we're doing now with commercial lines carriers is thinking about how to leverage different channels, right? So, of course, relationships and technology related to traditional agents and brokers, that's evolving. That's still a very, very important part of the picture. But you have new direct models, you have digital brands, you have, affinity relationships, you have digital agents and MGAs. There's all kinds of new capabilities there. And so a lot of companies are thinking through how do they reach preferred segments and how do they rationalize the channel strategy as they move towards more channels. In fact, we've done some recent research. We always every year we look at what are the big strategic initiatives that insurers have underway, those that the CEO would identify as a big initiative. And one of them is about expanding their distribution channels. And so for small commercial, for carriers that are focused on small commercial lines, 83% of those companies have significant activity underway in terms of expanding their distribution channels. And you get into the mid-market and large, and it's 82%. Now, small is a little bit further along in the maturity, and then the mid-market and larger is in some of the earlier kind of strategy stages, but just a great deal of rethinking and strategy kinds of activity going on.
What are insurtechs doing that are opening up these opportunities where they may not have been available before?
Yeah, it's a great question. I really do think they're a catalyst of change, and there's just so many options. So one of the ways to look at it is there's some different categories of the insurtechs in the commercial lines distribution space, right? There are those that are actually distributors. They're digital agents or brokers or MGAs. There are those that are providing technology solutions to agents, right? So new agency management systems like a Varuna or somebody like that, or lead management systems, those kinds of things. And then there are those that are comparative raters or distribution platforms like the Bold Penguins of the world and many more in that space, right? So you need to look at kind of those different categories. And I think what's happened is there's so many options out there now. It's also spurred some of the incumbents that have been in the space to innovate, to continue to evolve, right? Because it's easy to kind of think about the InsurTechs and focus on all the new players, but you have Bolt and Appulate and Bindable and Vertafore and Applied Systems and others that have been out there for a while. And Ivan's just introduced their new distribution platform, so they're a major player in the commercial line space as well, right? But I think it's the InsurTechs that have really got everybody understanding some of the new possibilities and how to leverage some of the technology and how to think about some of these new models that are out there.
How do you feel like agents are taking these distribution models? Are they taking them in stride? Are they excited about some of the efficiencies, or are they feeling a bit threatened by the automation itself?
Yeah, it's a great question. We did some research last summer for a large insurer on channel conflict, right? Because they wanted to understand that question, right? How do we rationalize our channels, right? Because, I mean, obviously most commercial lines insurers distribute primarily through human intermediaries still today, right? So there's a lot of ways to differentiate. Could be price, it could be geography, it could be product, it could be the level of service, it could be commissions. I mean, there's a lot of different combinations there, and I think that agents and brokers, understand that we're moving to an omni-channel world. They understand that their carrier partners are trying to reach various segments. They don't necessarily like it, but it's not the same kind of pushback that maybe you would get 10 years ago or 20 years ago, where agents would literally pick up and take their book somewhere else if an insurer said, hey, we're going to go direct, or we're going to partner with some other company, or whatever it might be.
Let's close with this question. How are carriers seeing this growth? Are they clearly there's an investment and the growth in effort is there. Are carriers, from your vantage point in the research that you've been able to put together, or even just conversations that you've had anecdotally, are they excited about the results? Are the results matching the investment?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think the results are mixed, right? There are some that have seen spectacular results, right? There's significant submission flow coming in through new distribution channels, right? There are others that are earlier stages, right? And some of it just depends upon the size of the insurer and where they are in the journey. So if you look at like a Hartford, for instance, they've been on this journey for quite some time of upgrading their technology capabilities to the agent community, but also partnering with other distribution partners. If you get into some of the kind of tier 3, tier 4 insurers, they're earlier, right? And so they're experimenting with a Tarmica or some new player there as a distribution partner, but it's not materially affecting their bottom line financial results yet, right? But I think that everybody has a clear understanding that this is the direction, that more and more business is going to flow through InsurTech distribution channels, or be supported by platforms that enable the connections between agents and carriers.
Awesome overview, Mark. Mark, I want to thank you on the side for being a strategic partner of InsurTech Ohio. For the audience listening in, I look forward to sharing with them future content that we'll be working together to put on display. Your knowledge of the industry is tremendous, and I look forward to additional conversations down the road.
Thanks very much, Mike. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.